everyone, I'm Sylvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do a virtual response, a VR, to Rose Honey Ritual and Guardian Goddess Tarot, and it's called Only 10 Mass Market Decks. I think that the meaning of this VR is very simple. If you could only keep 10 mass market tarot decks or oracle decks, which ones will they be? I think that I chose according to my heart, which is something that I tend to do pretty much all the time. And let's have a look at what I've got here. So the first one is the Herb Crafts Tarot. It's being published by US Games, and the artwork is by Joanna Powell Colbert, written by Letitia Guthrie. Now this deck is amazing. I have to say I love the fact that it comes with a very nice sturdy box, two-piece box instead of a tuck box like many US Games decks. I am completely new to the world of herbs, but it's absolutely fascinating to me and I would love to know more. So I actually love this deck because I am trying to understand a bit more of the properties of herbs, and the book, the guidebook, is helping me do that. For example, why is the Four of Air, which is the suit of the mind, represented by lavender. Now lavender is well known to have calming, soothing kind of properties. The Four of Air is reflecting this kind of relaxation, this kind of resting, the resting after the growth of the three, which is an overthinking. I read numerologically, so to me the Three of Swords is the growth in the suit of the mind. So that's a really beautiful deck. The artwork is beautiful. The colors are amazing. Other than that, it's also one of my favorite mass market decks because it's the cardstock is very good, as you can see, bounces quite nicely, but it's sturdy at the same time and not stiff. It ticks all the boxes, really. It is kind of big for my freakishly small hands, so I can read full shuffle, but I struggle. But that's my fault. I have really small hands, ridiculously small hands, really. So yeah, so that's one of the 10. And by the way, there's no particular order. So this was the Herb Crafts Tarot. The second tarot, mass market tarot, I want to talk about is the Vivian Moon Borderless edition. This is all by Patrick Valenza. This is also published by US Games, but it comes in the usual tuck box. It's an older deck, and I do tend to use it a lot. Now the reason why it's here, it's one of my only 10 only, is because well, first of all, I am a fan of Patrick Valenza's artwork. I also purchased the book that focuses on the process of creativity involved in the production of this deck. I think that this deck, I use this deck, look at this Ten of Swords. I use this deck for shadow work. Many of us do. I've seen it used in many channels for this purpose. It just works, guys. What am I to say? It's just reaching deep down in my inner child, and it's bringing up, my goodness, all the issues. You know, it is impossible not to have trauma in our childhood, whether it's you know, a big trauma or a small one. But we've all suffered because it's an age of transition. We are also more receptive towards everything that is around us because we are learning so much, and we're learning at a pace that is 10 times faster than any adult around us. And so this deck is helping us probably get through some bad memories that we might still have and that might still influence our adult life. And I'm quite grateful of the way this deck has worked for me in the past, and it still does. So yeah, that's the Deviant Moon Borderless Edition by Patrick Valenza. The third deck I want to talk about is the Tarot of the Abyss, and the creator is Anna Torian. Now, Anna Torian is one of my favorite creators. The reason why I put this is at mass market deck, by the way. I think it's another US game. Yes, it is. It's another US game. Whoopsie. Now, I think I have every single deck illustrated or created by Anna. Her artwork is just fantastic. I also have one of her prints from the Burnstone and Earthflesh. I mean, look at the line work. It's just amazing. I know that there's a lot of people thinking or you know, feeling that because this deck is in black and white, it doesn't communicate as much. To me, the line work does everything, and it's also because there is such detail and such difference also, if you notice, between the thickness of the line work, that it creates depth in the card. But it's beautiful nonetheless, and some cards, all the cards are incredibly expressive. You can tell everything from these eyes and the way he's frowning, or you know, the Nine of Wands, the fact that there is resilience, but there's also pain. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. In many cards, the point of view is from it's as if it was breaking the fourth wall. You see, the characters are actually looking at the reader, at you, and you sometimes are part of the card itself. I also like it for this reason. Another reason why I love the, oh, look at this, the Five of Cups, the sense of loss, but also the exaggeration. I mean, look around you, look beside you. You've got still two cups that are falling upright, and yes, you lost three, but not everything is lost. And what I do like about this deck as well is that Anna has given us the possibility to use an alternative 3 of Swords and an alternative 10 of Swords. You can see that from the 10 of Swords, it's not the traditional depiction of a person laying down being killed by 10 swords, which is a bit of an overkill if you ask me, because do we really need 10 swords to kill a person? You probably can use only one. But that's part of the meaning of the card, you know, reaching the bottom. But in this case, when you read numerologically like I do, the sword is the suit of the mind, and to me, when the 10 is the completion on the suit of the mind, and it means that you have treasured every single one of the experiences brought by the cards before the 10, and you use them. They become part of you. They become part of your wisdom, of your inner knowledge, and therefore there is this beautiful confrontation, but acknowledgement as well of a person and an owl. And the owl, as we know, traditionally is the spirit animal that signifies wisdom. And the swords are part of the plumage of the owl. And that to me means that you have reached a way of wisdom and knowledge, and you can peacefully look at your past, look at your experiences. And yes, some of them were painful, but you've sublimated them. You've become the master of your mind. And that's such a beautiful card. And whether you like or not the style, To me, what's relevant in this card is the fact that you can read it numerologically if you want to. There's also an alternative card in which there is the traditional depiction of the 10 of Swords with the person laying down, killed by 10 swords, but I choose to read this numerologically, and in the same way I read the 3 of Swords. So the 3 of Swords in the suit of the mind is the overthinking, and that's really beautiful the way that this is depicted. I mean, the person with an open mind is reading a book, but the words, the letters, as you can see, these are letters, tiny letters, and in their process of being assimilated into the mind, they actually turn into birds. So this signifies the element of air of the suit of swords. And the number 3 is the growth in the mind. So the growth that sometimes can also become overthinking, over-worrying. So that's really beautiful. And this card is one of my favorite ones. It reminds me of a character of a trilogy of books that I adore, which is the His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. This to me is absolutely the way I would draw Serafina Pekkala, the queen of the witches. Anyway, so, and sorry, last but not least, I just adore this 8 of Cups. It's another card in which they break the 4th wall and the characters look directly at you, the reader, the tarot reader. And the way she's just dropping with nonchalance this cup, you know, full of wine or whatever this liquid is, on the ground because she's had enough. And I remember posting on Instagram about this card, and someone, I don't remember who, made a beautiful comment saying it looks like she's a singer and she's had enough of everyone and she's just dropping the microphone saying, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. And I found that it was a really good comment for that card. So this is the Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Torian. I'm aware that this deck being here is probably a bit of a cheating, but not really. I mean, this is the Lumina Tarot by Inner Hue. And it's true that this is the indie edition, but it's also true that this deck exists in a mass market edition. It's just that for now, the mass market edition is only in French, and I don't have that. And the reason why I don't have that is not necessarily the fact that it's in French, but the fact that the borders, the white borders, are slightly larger, slightly wider than the indie edition, and the artwork is slightly smaller. And I prefer this edition, but I'm not cheating because you can actually definitely find this deck as a mass market. Now, I really like this deck. I use it a lot when I read for clients. There's been a lot of talk about not much diversity in body shapes, which I tend to agree with. It's true, it doesn't, they all look like, my goodness, even too skinny models in this deck. Okay, fair enough. But I try to go beyond that, and I try to recognize the beauty of the deck. I mean, some of the cards, this death card is so dark, so deliciously dark, I would say. It is rather pippish. It's a 9 of Swords, but you can also read it intuitively, probably because of that. I like the splashes of color in a white background with just, it looks like it's a charcoal pen. I might be saying something stupid. Apologies if it's not if it's not true. That's what it looks to me in any case. There's a lot of sacred geometry. There's a lot of references to the zodiac sign for the star. For example, we know it's Aquarius. There's a lot of, as I said, sacred geometry, and some cards even look like a Tarot de Marseille. I mean, it's 4 of Cups, for example. But I don't mind. I understand that this is not a traditional deck. I understand that you know, it taps a little bit into the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition, but not entirely. But what it does for me is it gives me, we have a bit of Kabbalah as well, it gives me the possibility to talk about a card, you know, when I see it. So you've got the magician. The magician is looking directly at you. It's a person that has achieved a master of their own skills, and they're all present, as you can see. And it's got the traditional symbols. You've got the Lemnis cage, you've got the Ouroboros, the serpent that bites his own tail, you got the 4 elements, and you've got the zodiac sign. Yes, it's true, it's not pointing one hand up for D as above and one down for the so below, but it doesn't matter. It's still very symbolic to me. It still gives me the possibility to understand why this particular card has come up in this particular reading for this particular customer. So and I noticed that there's a lot of customers really liking it and appreciating the feelings that they have when looking at these cards. So this is the Lumina Tarot by Inner Hue, and it's true, this is the indie edition, but you can buy a mass market edition. Another deck I want to talk about today is the Murder of Crows Tarot by Corrado Roy. Now this is published by Lo Scarabeo. It's a bit of a special kind of production because it's not your usual Lo Scarabeo tuck box. It's a 2-pieces box. Now, I will forever kick myself because I used to have the special edition, which was even more beautiful, and it had so this is a also a black and white, kind of black and white deck, but the special edition has got splashes of red in the cards, and that was just really beautiful. I don't know where it went. I have moved many times in my life, and unfortunately I always make sure not to lose decks, but it happened. And now getting a hold of it, I mean, I've seen it selling for like $300, which is way outside of my price range. But anyway, it's okay. I mean, I like this edition as well. These are the backs. The reason why I love this deck, and I will never part way with it, obviously, if I managed not to lose it, is that Corrado Roy is one of my favorite graphic illustrators. I mean, look at this 6 of Swords. Sorry about the glare. Try not to. There you go. Corrado Roy is Italian. He's famous because he was one of the very first illustrators of a comic book that was called Dylan Dog, which was very famous. It started publishing in 1987, sorry, and it is still publishing to this day. Corrado Roy has recently created another tarot deck, which is called the Dark Side of Tarot, or the Dark Side Tarot, and it's on its way to me. It's just been released by Lo Scarabeo. It's not even been published in Australia, released in Australia yet, but I did get a hold of a copy, thanks to the fact that I have connections easily. Being Italian, it's rather easy. I know it's a very dark deck. I know it's almost, I mean, sometimes you could argue that some of these figures are even grotesque, but it's incredibly intuitive. The work I do with this deck is mostly shadow work. but it gives me the possibility to go even deeper, let's say, than the Deviant Moon. The Deviant Moon I use mostly with shadow work related to the inner child, whereas this one is pretty much an adult kind of conversation that you have when using this deck. And I really, oh, look at this 10 of Wands. So this is the Murder of Crows by Corrado Roy, and it's published by Lo Scarabeo. This next deck is also published by Lo Scarabeo, and behold, ladies and gentlemen, it costed 10,000 lira. So as you can imagine, it's an older kind of publication. Unfortunately, this is out of print. 10,000 liras is about 5 euros nowadays. It's by Sergio Toppi. Sergio Toppi is also, I think that Lo Scarabeo has published or republished a different one of his decks, a Tarot of the Origins, under the name Primordial Tarot, I'm pretty sure. But this is a different one. It's called Tarocchi Universali, which means the Universal Tarot. And the reason why it's here is that, yes, believe it or not, it's still a mass market, even though it's out of print. It comes with the usual little white book. This, coincidentally, is probably the smallest one of my decks. Let's see, just to give you an example. So just to give you an example, this is a pretty much a standard size Hay House oracle in this case, but it's a standard size tarot deck. And look at the difference in size. So anyway, this is the Tarocchi Universali. It's really beautiful. The artwork is fantastic. This one reminds me a lot of the Primordial Tarot, the same type of characters that we find in that, and probably this one as well. This to me is so 70s. It gives me such a 70s vibe. Look at a beautiful chariot, the Hermit, the Wheel. So this tarot is amazing. His work is amazing. He's an excellent illustrator. He was, I think. Don't know if he's still alive. Apologies, I should have checked. His artwork is incredibly evocative. It's incredibly beautiful. I'm so glad that I have this deck. So beautiful. So Tarocchi Universali, the Universal Tarot by Sergio Toppi, published by Lo Scarabeo. The next deck is also an Italian deck, and this is published by Il Meneghello from Milano. Now, this one is also, so Meneghello is a publishing house, it's mass market, therefore, but it has been published in a limited number of 800 copies, and well, this is copy 745, and it's from 1993. So created by Osvaldo Menegazzi, Maestro Osvaldo Menegazzi, who unfortunately left us last year. I think it was at the end of November, so it would have been the anniversary of his death, and I think that he actually passed because of COVID. So this deck is for I would say it is for collectors only. It's quite difficult to shuffle. You've got a nice booklet rather than the usual smaller kind of leaflet for this deck. Okay, so the name of this deck, you've probably seen it in different channels. It's called Fantastico Viaggio di un manichino da pittore in 22 arcani. So this means that it's the wonderful journey of a painter's dummy. Manichino is the mannequin, the dummy. Pittore is painter, in 22 major arcana. So basically it's the journey of the hero's journey. And the hero in this case is a painter's mannequin, a painter's dummy. Now I'll show you, of course, what I mean, because it's much easier to show than to explain. You've seen it many times. If any of you have any painting experience, they will remember that. And this is what painters use as a dummy to get the proportions of their work of art. And this tarot deck imagines that this painter, and the stories behind this painter is that he travels, and whenever he travels he takes his dummy with him. And it's amazing because the reason why it's in my only 10 mass market decks is because even though we're talking about a dummy, a mannequin, the way the artwork and the color and especially the shading works makes you feel as if these are actually live characters. So these characters are not only live, but they're actually communicating their own emotions to you. So it starts with the magician. Il Bagato is the Italian name for the magician, and number 1. But it's still 22 because it puts the Fool as number 22, which is really interesting because it kind of changes the perspective of the journey. But as you can see, there is so much, there is actual emotions and feelings communicated through these dummies. They are alive. They come out of the card. They come out of the picture. Look at this hermit. The quest for knowledge is tiresome. The quest for knowledge is heavy. It's a heavy burden. Or the wheel, for example, blindfolded. Strength. Look at this death card. It's just amazing. It's a specter, right? It's a ghost. The star. The moon looking up. The sun. Now in this deck, the judgment is called the angel, the world, and the fool. Now this was the tarot of, let's call it the painter's dummy, and by Il Meneghel. Now this next deck is very fortuitous because so it's the Voyager Tarot, as you can see, and I wasn't even going to get this deck, but I was in the Netherlands with a friend of mine, and she insisted. She was like, no, you really need to get this tarot deck. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful collage deck. And I'm so grateful that this friend of mine convinced me to get it, because it is one of my favorite collage decks. I do have a bit of a passion lately for collage decks. I've seen it being in many channels here in the tarot community on YouTube, because well, they've become trending. Let's face it, sometimes when one person talks about something, then because of word of mouth, then someone else gets the same passion, and you know, it's a domino effect. It starts that way. But this was one of the very first one, if not the first collage deck, at least that I know of. And the elements are so very, I mean, it was from the early 1980s, but this could be a very modern collage deck to me. It was done in the original way. Nowadays, there's still a few artists that do that manually, but most of them use some software to do that. And they still blend quite seamlessly, I think. It was very well done. So this is the Voyager Tarot. And I forgot, sorry, the Voyager Tarot by James Wanless and Ken Knutson. That's the artist. This next deck is an oracle deck. I think it's the first oracle deck I'm showing today. And it's the Messages from the Light meditation deck by Joyce Huntington. Now, this deck has been on my list for a while, and the reason why it took me a while to get it is because, for whatever reason, I was convinced that it was a perfectly square deck, and I have problem shuffling a square deck. Now, I have small hands. Whenever there's a deck that poses some kind of shuffling problem, I find myself not reaching for it, which is a pity because I just adore the artwork in some decks. Like, there is one which is really heartbreaking for me not to use it so as often as I would like. It's the Dark Days Tarot. It's so beautiful, but because I find it hard to shuffle, then I don't use it as much. This one, though, it's not perfectly square. See? And I have to be honest, it does make it slightly easier to shuffle. This deck is amazing. The keywords are very evocative. The artwork is magnificent. It just goes really, really well between the images on the cards and the keywords used. I think there's a few tarot decks that pair up really well with this with this oracle, and it's one of the reasons is also because of these borders. I don't know if you can see, but they look like kind of vintagey. Probably in this corner you can see it a bit better. So they look kind of vintagey. There's a kind of a smoky edge to them that gives them that kind of antique or vintage feel. And so if you have any tarot with that kind of feel, you know, the antiquarian tarot, the carte postale tarot, the relative tarot, and off the top of my head I've got these three, but there's more. This oracle deck will pair really well with them, and I do plan to do a couple of videos in which I pair up oracle decks and tarot decks because it's one of my favorite activities. So this is the Messages from the Light meditation deck by Joyce Huntington. The last deck, although it's not the last deck because I'm cheating, I'm actually showing you 11, not just 10. But in any case, this is also an oracle deck, and it's kind of a recent publication. It's The Animal Apothecary by Cara and Elizabeth, published by Hay House. Comes in a nice 2 pieces box, quite sturdy, nice booklet by the way. So I had, at the beginning, I wasn't sure about this oracle deck. However, using it has been a very great experience. It's I wasn't sure because of the it looked to me when I was looking at it in you know, I think I purchased it from Amazon, so I was looking at the photos they provided in the ad, and I was looking at these figures, the artwork, the line work. I was looking at the combination of the keywords and the images, and especially the pastel colors used. And I was, I don't know. But then I got it because it's very affordable. Very affordable. And I thought, you know what, let's just have a look and let's use it. And it's just really amazing. It works really, really well. And it pairs up with a lot of tarot decks. And what I find is that it actually brings up, as a focus, you can get even deeper in the meaning of a tarot card when using this deck. Get out of your head. Better than you can imagine. Nourishment while waiting. prayer answered. Now, when it comes to the artwork, it's not my favorite. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. You are what you think. But then again, if it works, it works. You know, it's there's many really, really beautiful, stunning decks that don't work as well, that don't read as well as these ones. Evolve into your complexity. Keep trying. Let go, Barry. So I feel that the purpose, at least my purpose, okay, the purpose of having an oracle is so that I can bring out every hidden or intuitive meaning out of a tarot. Okay, sometimes I use oracle decks on their own, but most of the time I use them when paired up with a tarot deck. So if an oracle deck works, then it's done its job. Why look for something more than what I need? The illusion. Everything is an illusion. So this is The Animal Apothecary by Cara Elizabeth, published by Hay House. Okay, last but not least, I had to include this tarot. If I'm correct, this won the Carta Award in 2022. It's the Poe Tarot by Tricia Lee Schufelt. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. What's the publisher? It's is that Red Feather? It's the, I think it's the logo for Red Feather. In any case, it is mass market. I'm not cheating this time. Beautiful book. Now, I do adore Edgar Allan Poe. I read all of his works. He had an incredibly interesting life. If you don't know, just read. There's, I'm sure there's really quick biographies on Wikipedia. What I like about this deck is that it's got a kind of a minimalist kind of style. Okay, let's show you the deck, because it's much easier to show something than to talk about it. These are the backs, and as usual, sorry about the glare. It's gilded. It's the kind of gilded, honestly, I wish I didn't do that. It's the kind of gilded, there you go. Okay, I have used this deck quite a fair bit, but see, this kind of red gilding is the same one of the Tarot, the Bone Stone and Earth Flash, and it just gets, it gets damaged immediately as soon as you use them. But okay, in any case, it's gilded. Okay, so as you can see, this is a true black and white. This is what I call a true black and white deck. It is minimalist. But what I like about it is that each and every card has got a quote from one of Edgar Allan Poe's writings. It's very evocative. It's a beautiful production. The quality is amazing. It is very good cardstock. It does have a bit of a glossy kind of finish, which is not my favorite. As you can see, it catches the light, but it's not one of the worst gloss that I've seen. Talking about mystical moments, and it's really beautiful. I won't read all of the cards, but Wells is cups, paws is discs or pentacles, and candles is fire, so wands. So there you go, beautiful, really beautiful artwork. Look at this Justice card, that's just so beautiful. 10 of Quills, 8 of Candles, Temperance. Look at the Ace of Wells, so beautiful. Beauty of whatever kind in its supreme development invariably excites the sensitive soul to tears. This is the Poe Tarot, and it's by author Tricia Lee Schufelt, and it's, I'm pretty sure it's Red Feather, but just to be, there you go, it is published by Red Feather. So this is it. These are my 10 or rather 11 decks, mass market decks, that I would keep if I could only keep 10. Now, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Have a great day.